Alright, so today I'm going to be talking about targeting fall muskies in Minnesota. That's primarily where I fish. I'll be going over some different baits I'm using throughout the fall season, where I'm fishing, different tactics I'm using while I'm on the water. So for fall, for me, I guess fall kind of starts in September. Once that water's starting to gradually cool down, I like to fish primarily up north. I spend a lot of my time on Vermilion, the Leech Lake area, and out west, Miltona, even like Detroit's Lake area. I do spend some time in the metro. That's kind of where I started musky fishing. So to dive into kind of baits I start out with in September, temps are probably just going below 70, so I love a topwater bite. One of my favorite topwaters and best producers over the last couple years is definitely the Cannonball Junior. Fat Bastard works great too, but the Cannonball Junior has been the go-to. Obviously got to add the extra split rings, make it click. Some other good topwater baits I'm using, Big Mama Clicker. This one's seen some time on the water. I think this was my first double 50, 250s in one day. I was on that bait the first time I got 250s in one day. I think that was back in 2012. Walk the dogs. Those are great when that water temp's getting a little, 65 less. And can't forget Worth. I think these sold out. They were here at Thorn. I think they sold out in 59 seconds or something, right? Okay, so when I'm on the water, come September, usually those fish are going to be moved up shallow, either up on the sand, or I like to fish some shallow weeds. So when I'm fishing during the day with clients, I usually have them starting off with some top water baits. I'm usually in the back throwing something a little different, some pole paws. One of my favorite pole paws baits is definitely this Musky Innovations Double Dog. The beaver, if you don't have a beaver, make sure you get one of those. Front hook keeps the fish pinned a little better. Going through, so we're fishing shallow weeds, sand. Up north, it's kind of the same game. I like to fish Lake Plantagenet, and I go over to DL a little bit, fishing shallow sand, weeds. Sorry. First time, I might botch this. This is my first seminar ever, so hopefully it goes okay. When I, sorry, I'm spacing, it's a lot. What's that?
You said Lake Tanginet.
Lake Plantagenet. So when I start off fishing up north in September here, I like to, early mornings, I go up to tight to the reeds. You're throwing, sometimes in the reeds, where most of my fish are caught is right on the outside of the reeds, and then they kind of push out to the cabbage. You got to find, always in the fall, I'm always looking for like the greenest cabbage. It's just kind of where, there's bait fish in there. There's up north in Bemidji and Plantain, you got the perch all over the place. I actually have friends that will stop musky fishing and go catch some perch, and I just laugh at them. I'm just like, you guys should be fishing for muskies. But so from continue on to September, we are kind of
Talk about your water temps when you say September. So at the start of September, you said below 70.
yeah. So usually, I mean, this year I think early September I was seeing like 64, 65 in the metro. It the last couple seasons the weather's been up and down. It's been crazy. Like you have a huge cold front and then it starts to warm up again, and you kind of have to just go out there and find the fish. It's a day-to-day thing too, because I mean, especially in the metro, it's tough to stay on those bites. But if you're out there like me on the water, like I've always told people it's about time on the water. Throughout the years, I've logged a lot of my catches, and when I do log my catches, a quick way to do that is I take a picture of the fish in the net, take a picture of my hummingbird graph with the water temp, the depth, and so I kind of and then I take a screenshot of the weather of that day, maybe the moon time of that day, and throughout the years I've kind of logged just different scenarios throughout the state. I've fished pretty hard throughout the last 10 years just to kind of be where I am at today. And it's about time on the water. So you'll see, different scenarios play out. So this year, this past season, I think I got my boat motor fixed in end of August. So I really was on the water not much until then, and I had a spectacular late fall season, especially on Mille Lacs, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But so this past season, I went up to DL, and it was kind of I've been up there a few times, and you go out there, and I usually start fishing weed edges, trying to find fish. The hummingbird electronics is huge to stay on top of where those muskies are hiding. Because this year, I think it was mid-September, I caught a 55 and a half.
Yeah, let's get some picks going here.
So this is that 55 and a half I caught. This was after a pretty hard day on the water. I think we fished for like 16 hours. We got out there before sunrise, and we were seeing fish on the edges, but they were deep. They weren't. We were trying to throw some big rubbers at them, so I don't have any up here, but I throw a lot of the Chaos Tackle Medusas. I also throw, pounders, double dog pounders. Nothing was really happening, so
Let me stop you real quick. So you said you saw the fish. So when you're using that hummingbird side image, are you looking for structure? Are you looking for fish? Are you looking for both? Are you looking for bait?
I am looking for anything, any signs of life. So I'm always have the side imaging. I run 3 screens. There's 2 at the helm and 1 back by my feet in the back of the boat. So I have 1 on side imaging, I have 1 on sonar, and then at my feet it is the map. So this season on DL early mid-September, we were seeing a few fish, had a few follows, and then we were marking fish all over the edges, but we just couldn't get anything commit. I don't even think it was. I think it was in between a full moon, new moon. I feel like those big fish, kind of sometimes those really big ones don't even move up to the spots. until that water cools down September. So I really like to night fish. I don't really take clients out night fishing. It's sometimes hard to keep the baits running right in the dark. It's kind of an art to learn fishing after dark. But my favorite go-to baits for after dark fishing is classic supermodel 13s. One that I've been using the last couple years. I think this is a 10-12, but I usually use just double 12s. When I'm fishing like full moons, I like the like bright, flashy colors. New moons, I usually stick to black. Even throughout the season, I pretty much only throw black variations colors during the day. But so yeah, at night I like the supermodels. I do throw some topwater. Usually not the sunsets, not too late after dark. I don't seem to do very well like an hour, couple hours after dark on topwater. So I usually stick to blades. I might be throwing something in the back different with like a rubber bait, but so that specific night with that 55.5, we were fishing just all these fish that we saw on the weed edges. We kind of just moved up. I think we were up in like 10, 12 feet of water, and we were fishing sand, weed, and then on the inside there was more sand. So she ate a double 13, right? I think it was all white color that I had. And then, so that was after 16 hours. So you can't give up. Like you gotta be out there all day if you want to do well in the water.
So our viewers have been joking about the season you had and the big fish. Just tell me real quick.
Okay.
You say time on the water, and that's such a key thing. What are we talking about? How hardcore are we talking about to expect results like that?
Hardcore is as your wife's yelling at you to come home. That's how long I'm on the water.
I'm pretty sure.
She's actually over here. I will spend, like I said, I spent 16 hours on the water. Caught this 55. We ended up fishing another hour. I caught a 49.5 after that, and we spent, I think it was like 3. We kept going until 3 or 4 in the morning. So we spent almost 20 hours on the water, and we put 3 fish in the boat. But it wasn't until after dark. That's kind of the thing for me in September. I catch a lot of the bigger fish after dark. We do. It's nice to fish during the day, so you can kind of locate where those fish might be. More so up north, the northern lakes, I can kind of locate that fish, leave that fish alone, and come back after dark and try and catch that fish. In the metro, when you see a fish, it's kind of tough to come back on. It's so pressured now that I will actually, if I see a good fish, I will spend time and spin around and kind of work that fish for a while and try and get that fish to bite. 9 times out of 10, I won't. We'll try and go back on it later on moon time or something, but it won't be there. So going into later in September, I like to spend my time out on out west on Miltona. Then I am fishing, trying to find the cabbage beds. This year, some of my go-to cabbage beds were pretty sparse. We were seeing some fish, but the weeds change every year. So I actually spent, once the moon times were over, like during the day, I spent a half hour and I went and found a giant weed bed, and I spent a half hour with my graph going 3 miles an hour with the big motor over all these weeds, trying to mark out all the big green thick cabbage. While I'm going, you'll see it I use my sonar when I'm doing this, and I will the cabbage stalks. You got some tall ones, some 5-6 footers. You're in 8 feet of water. I will mark the top of those. I'll move my cursor and mark each one. So I did that, came back during the moon time, threw on the trusty beaver. This is actually my hot color this year, this walleye yellow deal. And I caught a fish. I was by myself. I was in between. I had climbed the day before, and I had to climb the next day. So I was kind of just trying to locate where these fish were going to eat. I came back, caught one right away in that weed bed that I went and marked out. And then, quick release by myself. I don't really take much time with a 45 incher. So threw it back. 2 casts later, I caught another one. You can't, with clients, if the fish are biting, that window's open. Those windows are really small going later into the year. So you just gotta, sometimes we don't measure the fish. We just take a picture, throw it back, keep going, because the fish are biting.
So let me interrupt again real quick. We got a question on there from one Mr. Roger Eklund, and Roger will be featured in a later seminar this week. Jason Hammernick's top 5 fish. Roger's asking, do you got it there, Ben?
Yeah.
So
are you having follows during the day, going back on fish at night, or are you marking the fish on electronics?
And I think you answered it there. It sounds like both, but are you going back on fish you only marked on electronics, or do they have to follow for you to go back?
I will go back to the area if I've seen some fish on the graph. That's just a great tool with Hummingbird. You're casting a spot, you think the fish are there, but you're not getting any follows, but you look on the graph, they're there. So yeah, I will come back there later, because they're gonna probably move up on the structure later in the day, or usually at night, for what I've seen in the last couple of years. Thanks for the question, Roger. Yeah, the Hummingbird is with the SI Mega. You can mark out all these little just sweet spots. And this year I actually finally grabbed the auto chart, and that was for some of those metro lakes, especially like White Bear. Not all the spots are accurate on just the maps you buy, the lake chip maps. So I would recommend getting the auto chart and mapping it out yourself. And that came to play on Mille Lacs a lot, because I throughout the years, you find where the spot on the spot is just through time in the water, and where you're catching that fish. It's usually in the same area. You're catching the fall is in the same area. The waypoints kind of just it creates this spot on the spot. You're like, why are my waypoint? Well, that's where the fish are eating. That's where you're seeing the fish. So that's kind of where throughout the years I've kind of found this spot on the spots. So I was talking that's late September. I'm out in Miltona area. Usually I like to fish the weed edges, but it wasn't happening this year. Then I usually throw the bar fighter, but we ended up going up into the weeds, and then even later the fish were up super shallow. They were up in 2 feet of water, sand next to the reeds. One day with clients, I think we had a morning where it was so windy, and we had to stick to the north side of the lake, and they had 4 eats on top water. I was throwing bucktail, just trying to be different. I gave them both Cannonball Juniors, and fish were coming in like crazy, and we missed all 4 fish, unfortunately, but it was crazy action for about 4 hours. So once I'm done with Miltona, usually I go till the end of September, early October. I kind of stick back to the metro area. I'm fishing, come back and I fish like weed edges. Weed edges, that's kind of what I used to fish all the time in the metro. Back in the day, it was just weed edges. You'd catch fish all the time on the weed edge, but it's gotten tougher throughout the years, and it's just a lot of work throwing monsters and pounders all day that I've kind of transitioned into like what are the muskies like? How am I gonna put more fish in the boat? And I have switched over to sucker fishing. Once those water temps drop below 55, you got turnover coming. It gets tough. So I rig up suckers. Usually trying to get 2 people in the boat, so we got 3 people running 3 suckers. Sometimes I'll have them cast if they really want to cast, but over the last couple of years, we have put probably 3 times the fish in the boat because of suckers. And it's not my favorite way to fish, but you kind of got to do what the muskies want, and they want suckers. So I do a little bit of sucker fishing up in the DL area, and you have potential of really big fish up there, but it just goes to show that sucker fish, they'll eat suckers all the time. So from there, I like, first let's talk about sucker fishing. I like to use those stealth sucker rigs that just came out with a little barb that just barely goes into the skin. Usually I'm using 15 to 18 inch suckers, dragging them on weed edges that I've kind of marked out throughout the years, just kind of spot on the spots. And even if those spots aren't working out, there's not green weeds like in the late fall, October area. I am always looking for the greenest weeds. It doesn't even have to be good weeds. It has to just be green, tall weeds. So I found some spots that I've never really fished before, and we got bites just because green weeds. Fishing right on the weed edge, probably 13 to 15 feet. Dragging those suckers at about a mile an hour, keeping them moving. Always don't stop the boat. If you get a fish following, don't stop the boat. Keep the boat moving. That fish will follow forever, and a lot of times they will eat. Sometimes I do play with it. You gotta kind of jig the sucker out to the right or the left to get that fish to commit. So that's kind of my game plan in October. Going forward, late October, I kind of switch gears and head over to Mille Lacs. I think I really got into trying to catch that 50-pounder. Everyone saw Roger's fish, and when I was just getting started, I was like, dude, I want to catch that fish. That's my ultimate goal, is to catch the biggest fish in the state. So throughout the years, just trial and error, finding spots, locating where those Cisco's are, spawning.
Let me just ask you real quick. So we talked about September baits and topwater and some bucktails. At what temperature or time, or is it the lake transition, when do you go away from that to the slower moving soft plastic swim baits?
I throw a little bit of, sometimes topwater, usually I go till 65. I think like 61 is the coldest I've caught topwater fish on, early October maybe. Then, I'm usually just throwing, if I'm casting, I'm throwing rubber baits. I'm throwing the meg size double dogs. They got a lot of hang, or the Medusas, the monsters, or the Huskies. If you have to, I'm not a big glider guy, but if that's what they want, you gotta throw it. You gotta slow down. Presentation with the pull pause baits, when I'm working them a lot slower than I would in the summer. In the summer, it's erratic. It's pump, all over the place. Coming in the fall, it's more of like a sweep, reel slacken and sweep. Changing the direction. I've always had luck with right or left, but I'm always doing an up pull, and it seems like after that up pull is where I get a lot of my bites. Just changing the direction of that bait can trigger that fish. That's kind of what they've going into my late fall season on Mille Lacs this year. It was moving it really slow. My top producing bait, this is the bait. I actually stole this from a buddy because I broke mine off halfway through the fall season up on Mille Lacs. The way that when I went to Mille Lacs this year, I got up there, I think the full moon was on October 31st, Halloween. I think I got there a day or two before. There's plenty of boats up there. The temps were decent air temps, so there was quite a few people up there. We kind of trying to locate. We kind of just went out there and was like, oh, let's go fish some spots that I know. Didn't really go and check where the Cisco's were, but that night we spent the whole night trolling around reefs all the way from Big Point by Doe Island, and we went all the way to Indian, checking every single reef at night. We were trolling. I don't troll very much. I troll when I have to. If the air temp's too cold to cast and everything's freezing up and breaking, I will troll a little bit. And at night, I'll troll a few hours after dark. Trolling baits. Go-tos are the 12-inch matlock, 12-inch headlock. If you want to go a little slower, especially at night, you've got the jigs on, the 14-inch jigs, 13-inch grandmas. So that night we trolled around a bunch of reefs up shallower. We were up in the 10, 12 foot range, looking to see if we see Cisco's popping or what. So we found a couple of reefs that night that were just loaded with Cisco's. Actually ended up in the morning up on Indian, going across the whole lake, trying to find where those Cisco's were. And came sunrise, I'm starting to see boats, and I'm like, oh dude, we gotta reel these crankbaits in and start casting. There were Cisco's everywhere, hundreds and hundreds of Cisco's popping. They weren't paired up yet. They were just everywhere. We were up shallow. We were on top of the reefs, like 6 to 8 feet. So instead of normally how you cast a spot, you're casting at the reef. That's usually how you go around the spot. You cast at the structure. We kind of did the opposite, and we went on top of the reef. Cisco's all around the boat, and we were throwing off of the reef. So we were up in 6, 8, casting off, getting up to 12, maybe 13. What I was doing and what worked really well was, I don't think I took this bait off. What I do is, this past season was, long bomb, I running the 9'8" extra heavy thorn rod and 500 tranks. I would bomb it out there, let it sink for 5 seconds, give it a 5 count, and straight reel. I wouldn't pull, pause, or I would straight reel it for at least halfway back, and then I was doing my pumps. I think second pass that morning on Indian, I caught a 51, and I got a picture here somewhere.
Yeah, go through all those giants and find the right one.
That was my first Mille Lacs fish this year. It was a 51. Didn't have the girth. Like when I hooked it, I thought it could have been the one, but got it in, and it's a big fish. It's Mille Lacs fish. Like usually I only catch a few out there every year. And this year I put 10 in the boat on Mille Lacs in 16 days. Like I said, time in the water. I don't know many guys that were out there for 16 days this fall. It seemed like after that first full moon in October, everyone kind of just they were gone, and it was just me and a few boats out there. Some days I had the whole lake to myself. So yeah, we found the Cisco's and we just pounded the spots. You know, if you can see, most of the days we caught fish out there, the water, there's no wind. The flat, calm days, light wind out there, easier to see the baits. I like to throw the really big baits, bright baits, just to get the attention of the muskie. And
that brings back a couple of questions. Some people were asking about bright sunny day. I saw a couple questions about bright sunny day, calm. What do you throw? Or clear water? Are we throwing natural or wild?
You know, for the water clarity, I don't really. It doesn't really matter for me. I'm always throwing something. Mille Lacs is clear. And I'm throwing bright baits. Usually, it's got something with chartreuse or the bright orange, something like that. I really like the all chartreuse or some So that's Mille Lacs. In the metro, when I'm throwing rubber, that's more so early October, September. I throw natural colors. I throw like walleye patterns, sucker patterns. Usually I stick to more natural, perch, natural colors in the metro. When I'm up north, I fish a lot of lakes that have Cisco's in them. That's potential. The fish are going to be a lot bigger. So I throw more of the Cisco type baits, colors in up north. So for Mille Lacs, I usually stick to the white and chartreuse. Some days I'll throw just all white too. So again, that was the first big one, and then we had some nasty wind. We were out there casting, but your odds are pretty slim when it's 3 foot, 4 foot waves, but you still gotta be out there. Then we got another calm day. I think it was almost 60 degrees this day. I'm kind of mad I didn't measure this fish. I thought we hit another fish that we saw on side imaging that was huge that we were just trying to catch, and this one got in the way. I think it was probably 47 by, I don't know, 24, 25. But we were, like I said, when the window's open, at least that fish, if it's not like 40 or 50 or whatever, so get back to fishing quick. So from there, then you have those days where it got a little later. I think it was mid-November. I didn't know I was going to go back to Mille Lacs. I said I'm going to go there for a week. It's usually tough. I caught 2 fish and I was like, I need to go back. So one of the days out there, we spent all day trolling because it was just nasty. You can see this is the only trolling fish. Out of the 10 fish, 9 were casting and 1 was trolling. This is my buddy Will. We actually took his boat out there because I don't want to ruin my boat. So his boat turned into a big icicle that day. But we made it happen at sunset. Kind of fishing the same. The fish had the Cisco's had started to move off the spots a little bit and more on the break. So we were trolling. We were trolling pretty shallow. Most people troll out in that 30 foot, kind of trying to find that obese fish. We were sticking to where we were catching them casting, and I think we caught that one up in 15 feet of water off of Rock Reef. And then I was out. I think this was the weekend before I had the double 50-pounder day. I was looking for someone to fish with. I didn't have clients, and Doug happened to be coming to Minnesota, so I was super excited to have him come on the boat, and we made it happen pretty quick. I think in the first couple hours, Doug caught his first Mille Lacs fish. I think it was around 46 or 47. As you can see, sunny day, super sunny day, and flat calm. And I think he was throwing all bright chartreuse. So Honestly, I don't really think the color matters or the bait. It's kind of just putting that bait in front of that fish. It's a needle in a haystack out there. You know, low density fish, low density lake. Same day, I caught another. I think I caught like 4 or 5 47-inch fish. This one went 47. And then Doug was able to go out another day, and Doug stuck this crazy looking whale. This was actually some pretty big wind, and we kind of tucked to where the wind was coming out of the west side, and we stuck to just one reef that day. And I think we caught it first, or I think it was first pass, and Doug got all excited and decided to turn his trolling motor with his hand. He broke the trolling motor, so the rest of the day he had to turn the trolling motor while I was thrusting it. We ended up not catching anything the rest of the day, but catch a fish, one fish on wax every day is not bad. So
Yeah, it sounds like you found a lot of needles in that haystack.
yeah, it did. It was a pretty good fall. So I think that was Friday, Saturday before Thanksgiving. That's kind of when COVID hit again. I'm a part-time guide, so I do have another job. I'm a bartender, so with restaurants closing again, it freed up more time to fish. So I headed back out to Mille Lacs the day before Thanksgiving. I posted on social media, I need someone to fish with. Who wants to go? This guy named John messaged me right away and was like, let's go. So we met at the launch that morning. I think second spot. Not many people, I didn't really mention this, but this is the first fish of that double potential 50 pounder day. It was a 45-incher, and I was just like, God dang it, another just mid-sized Mille Lacs Musky. I was like, where are the big ones? And it happened an hour later.
So hang on one sec before we get to the day of days. For those who don't know, we were here. You probably don't know this. We were here watching on Instagram at the shop. Some interesting posts that day.
Yeah, I post stories usually when I catch the fish. Not usually like exactly. I maybe post a little after. I don't need you to know exactly when I caught the fish, but it was funny. I think Doug was messaging me, and he's like, "Oh, you got one?" And I was like, "Yeah, just another low 40 or mid 40." He's like, "Oh, well, it's still fish." I mean, yeah, it's Mille Lacs fish. Those are tough to come by. And then I put this one in the boat an hour later at 56 and a half by 27. Right away when I hooked it up, will show I have some clips of the two big fish on here, so right away I knew it was her. Honestly, we can actually watch that clip right now.
Here, let's set the computer down.
Okay.
So I can get a nice.
Next two fish are just 50 pounders.
And of course, he's calling it there.
Calling it, yeah. Next two fish, 50 pounders. That's what my buddy John said in the boat, and I was like, "You're just joking."
And this, guys, if you're not doing video, this is invaluable stuff.
That's why I really haven't posted all my Mille Lacs fish. There'll probably be more people up here.
So we're watching. We're not seeing a lot of movement yet. Basically straight retrieving at this
Yeah,
point.
like I said, straight retrieve, and then halfway through I start doing some pulls. So you see they're pretty slow pulls. Yeah, it's usually after someone changing direction. Big fish on Mille Lacs, then the next weekend's just crazy.
Couple pulls up, couple pulls to the right.
That's her! That's her! Come on, hurry! Oh, baby! That's a big one. Yep.
And honestly, I was like, oh, that one's 50. I had no idea it was 56 and a half. We put it on the board and it was just like, oh my god. In the full video right away, it's in the net. I think Doug was messaging me earlier. I messaged him and I texted him, I'm like, I got him. And it kind of blew up at, people were messaging me and stuff. I kind of sat on my phone for like a half hour while we finished up the spot. And we made a run across the lake, and you can see where it was. I'll tell you where it was. It was on Hennepin, so that's where a lot of big fish have been caught throughout the years. So I kind of just was like, maybe the fish are going today. Let's head over there for the moon time. 2 hours later, we came up to the spot. There's a few boats around it. We through just knowing people, it's good to know people on the water. People are talking. So we saw that someone else had caught one trolling around Hennepin. I think it was like 52, but fat. It was huge. So we went over there. I think pulled up to just the spot on the spot right at moon, and I think it was 4 or 5 casts, and I hooked this 53 and a quarter by 28 and a half, which was just a slob. And I didn't check my phone right away, but after I let it go and stuff, my buddy actually messaged me and was like, yo, I just heard someone else caught another big one out there. And I'm like, yeah, it was me. And he was like, you mother. So normally I'm wearing a GoPro on my head. It's helped me throughout the years, just learning what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong. It's a great tool to help you learn quick, going through past footage, like what could I have done better there, so I'm always, and it makes for some pretty cool footage. This is the 53 and a half video, or quarter, sorry, making it bigger than it is.
We got a couple questions here about, did you leave the spot? Was this the same spot?
This was a different spot. So like I said, we drove across the lake, it was probably a half-hour drive. Went from one side to the next, just was like, I know there's a bunch of fish been caught on Hennepin throughout the years, so let's go try it.
So very similar retrieve. A lot of straight reeling at the beginning. And there's our movement now.
This one hit a little farther out. And you can see it just jumps to the right. I thought I snagged this fish, but she was hooked in the corner. Really good.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We had a little mishap with the net here.
Scoop boom. Scoop boom. Scoop boom. It's another 50 pounder. Told ya.
Oh, just another 50 pounder.
Just another one. Yeah, so that whole day just blew my mind. I never thought I'd have a day like that out on the water, and it just all clicked. It all happened, and it was amazing.
Next two fish.
So that was the day before Thanksgiving. After that, when celebrated with friends and family, I knew it was gonna blow up, but I didn't know it was gonna blow up that big. It went all over USA Today, Star Tribune, it's on Channel 5 News. Kind of really helped promote my guide service, which I'm super thankful for. I think I fished 2 more days out there. One day just trolling all day, didn't have anything going. And the last day we were out there, we managed to catch another 47-incher. Not the fish you expect to catch on Mille Lacs, kind of skinny, but another Mille Lacs fish. And I kind of ended my season, I think that was the Sunday before, I think it was the 30th or something, so we had 1 day left. But I called it quits there and ended on a good note. With 10 fish on Mille Lacs, I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more. It was crazy. There was nobody out there. We might have seen a couple boats from mid-November to the end, and it seemed like everyone was either hunting or already put their boats away, and I was out there slaying giants. Is there any questions at all?
One question, and we got to talk about it. We've had a few questions about this guy right here. What is this giant paddle tail?
Oh, so I just found this guy on Facebook. You know, gotta love social media. I haven't got to throw this yet, so I just got this. This is a guy in Ireland. I forget his name, but it is Mel Handmade Lures. This is, I think it's like a 16 or 17 inch. He says it weighs a pound. I'm super excited to throw this. I'm probably going to change out the hooks, so these are kind of small. I usually, I'm throwing, the double. I usually don't take this off. I'm in the back of the boat. In the front of the boat, the paddle tail has moved a lot of fish for me, and weighing it down to get it down there. It seems like like I said, I was straight reeling after like 5 counted, so the bait has got to be 10 feet down there, maybe even more. So this has got weights on the bottom, and it's got this heavy weight up top. So I'm gonna have to weight this one down here too. But the paddle tail, easy bait to throw for someone that's kind of new to throwing big baits, and you don't have to do much with it. You just straight reel it in, maybe a little twitch.
Talk about that monster. The monster swim bait coming from Musky Innovations, the Magnum swimming dog.
I actually, because Doug was out there, Doug's got some ins with some bait companies, and he had one, and it's pretty sick. I can't wait to get my hands on one of those. Also, with these paddle tails, you make these little screw-in weights. Get that tail to move. It's little modifications I do to make that tail move a little more than it normally does. So you can go a little slower. You do need to go a steady speed for that thing to actually work. You can't go too slow. But with these, you can really slow it down.
So we got an interesting message there from Greg Idy, and Greg is one of our Twin Cities Muskies Inc. chapter members. Why don't you read what he says there?
Superfish, as you know, we wanted to relax ourselves to get your replica from Twin Cities and join us March 9th.
So the key there is you won the lunge log biggest fish of the year.
I got a message, I think it was Jeff messaged me, and for that 56 and a half that I caught, I caught that 55 and a half earlier in the season, and I thought that was going to be the fish that might win the replica, because the year prior I caught a 56 and a quarter, and I think Casey that works here messaged me and was like, "You for sure won that replica." I'm like, heck yeah, like I'll log that fish. And I think 2 days later, someone in the same chapter caught a 57. And I was like, no. So when I caught that 56 and a half, I had to log it just so I could see if I could win that free replica. Because I don't think my wife would let me pay for one right now. I would like to get the other fish replica and have both of them. That would be a sick mount. Super excited for that. I don't know where we're going to hang it though, so I might have to leave it here. That's Thorn Bros.
So my boy Jimmy Hallberg from Sweden's asking about Wolf Creek monster shads. And Jimmy, I assure you, Ben will be leaving here today with a monster shad. I will walk him down to the floor.
I haven't thrown one of those, so yeah. Any paddle tail, I just something different, and there's a lot of bait makers out there now. These are a little expensive because they're coming from overseas, but throwing something a little different could help your chances out there. Any more questions? I have this guy's phone.
I think we're through most of them.
Yeah. So thanks for for tuning in. I hope I didn't mess it up too bad, but
If somebody wants to get in the boat with you, how do they get a hold of you?
get a hold of me. You can get on my website. I'm at www.mnanglingadventures.com. Otherwise, you can find me on Instagram at Minnesota Angling, or Facebook. It's just I don't have a Facebook business page, but just my name, Benjamin Knutson. I post pretty regularly, and if you want to get up, hit me up.
Oh, wait. Joy Murray Knutson has a question for you.
Oh my gosh.
You better answer that one.
That is my mom.
Well, hey, thanks a lot for coming into the shop today, Ben. Thank
for
all
having
you
me.
guys for watching. Keep the questions coming. We got a bunch more live seminars today, a couple more throughout the weekend. Come see us at the shop. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.